something happened in London that nobody saw coming. 8 days after breaking a world record, the Olympic champion walked onto that track expecting an easy win. Then, in the final 100 meters, everything fell apart. He finished fourth. No medal, no excuse, no explanation. And the man who beat him? Nobody was even talking about him before this race. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly who the real fastest man alive is right now. Let's set the scene first, because you need to understand exactly how big this shock was. 8 days before London, Wanyonyi was in Monaco. He broke the world record in the 1,000 meters. That's one of the hardest records in the sport to touch. The entire track world started talking about him like he was untouchable. Everyone assumed London was just going to be a victory lap. Wanyonyi wasn't just riding hype either. He's the reigning Olympic 800-meter champion. He won gold at the Paris Olympics with a time of 1:41.19. He's the world champion too. On paper, there was no runner in that London field who should have beaten him. Not close. Now, here's where the title of this video actually pays off, because the man who did beat him wasn't some unknown outsider. Brandon Miller walked into London already red hot. He'd won 3 straight 800 meters races before this one. He beat 17-year-old world indoor champion Cooper Lutkenhaus at the Prefontaine Classic just weeks earlier. He'd already spoiled a showdown between 2 of Britain's biggest stars, Josh Kerr and Jake Whiteman, back in May. So this wasn't luck. This was a man who had been building toward exactly this moment. Here's how the race actually played out. Miller positioned himself perfectly through the first 400 meters. He didn't panic. He didn't try to make a move too early. He sat in the pack, watched the pace, and waited. That patience is the entire story of this race. Most 800 meters runners who try to beat an Olympic champion make one fatal mistake. They go too soon. They try to build a lead early because they're scared of getting out-kicked at the end. Miller didn't do that. With 100 meters to go, he made his move. And it wasn't just fast. It was perfectly timed. He surged past the field exactly when the pace was breaking down for everyone else. Wanyonyi tried to respond. He tried to find that trademark late charge that made him an Olympic champion in the first place. It never came. His legs simply weren't there anymore. Miller crossed the line in 1:42.19. That's not just a win. That's a personal best by almost a full second. His previous best was 1:43.40. In one race, in front of a legend, he dropped almost a full second off his career mark. That kind of jump doesn't happen by accident. That happens when everything clicks at the exact right moment. And here's a number that puts this into real perspective. That time moves Miller to 5th on the all-time U.S. list in the 800 meters. 5th, all-time, in one of the deepest events in American track history. Now let's talk about what happened behind him, because the rest of the podium tells its own story. Ireland's Mark English took 2nd place, also with a personal best, 1:42.97. After the race, English said something that tells you everything about how big this result was. He said he was just happy to beat Wanyonyi, and that it felt amazing to finally join what he called the 142 Club. Think about that for a second. A grown man, an elite international athlete, was celebrating beating the Olympic champion almost as much as he was celebrating his own personal best. Britain's Max Bergen took 3rd, delighting the home crowd with a time of 1:43.30. And then there's Wanyonyi, 4th place, 1:43.31, 100th of a second behind the podium, 100th. That's how close he came to at least salvaging a bronze, and he still couldn't get there. Now here's the part that should really stop you in your tracks. This wasn't a random bad night for Wanyonyi. This has actually been a pattern all season. Before London, he'd already finished 2nd twice on the Diamond League circuit this year in the 800 meters. He was 2nd in Rabat. He was runner-up again after that. London was supposed to be the race where he finally broke through and got his first Diamond League win of the season in the 2-lap distance. Instead, he didn't even make the podium. So ask yourself this. If the Olympic champion, the world record holder from 8 days earlier, can't even finish top 3 against this current crop of Americans, who exactly is the best 800 meters runner in the world right now? Because here's what's happening in the background that most fans aren't paying attention to. American men are having one of the greatest seasons in Diamond League history in the middle distance events. Between Miller, Cooper Lutkenhaus, Jared Nugius, and Grant Fisher, Americans have now won 6 Diamond League middle and long distance events in a single year. That's the most ever recorded in one season, and there are still more meets left to run. Right now, being one of the best Americans in the 800, the The 1500 or the 5000 basically means you're one of the best in the world, period. Look at the US all-time list in the men's 800 meters. The top 5 names are all currently active runners. All 5 ran their personal bests within the last 2 years. This isn't a golden era from the past. This is happening right now. And Brandon Miller just put his name at the top of that conversation. Remember what we said at the start of this video. Wanyonyi arrived in London off the back of a world record. He was supposed to be unstoppable. That's the story everyone expected, walking into that stadium. But Brandon Miller didn't care about the hype. He cared about racing smart, staying patient, and trusting his kick when it mattered most. And that's exactly what flipped the entire script on its head. Let's go back to Miller's season for a second, because this win didn't come out of nowhere, and understanding his run-up makes the London result even bigger. His breakout year started at the LA Track Festival on May 24th. That race was supposed to be about someone else entirely. Fans showed up expecting a showdown between Britain's Josh Kerr and Jake Whiteman, two of the biggest names in the sport. Miller wasn't even the headline. He crashed that party and won it outright in 1:44.26. That was the first sign that something had changed in his racing. From there, he kept winning 3 straight victories, heading into the Prefontaine Classic, one of the most competitive meets on the calendar. At Prefontaine, he ran a season's best of 1:43.68 and ended the unbeaten streak of a 17-year-old phenom named Cooper Lutkenhaus, the reigning world indoor champion. Lutkenhaus had won every 800 meters he'd run in 2026, including World Indoors and the Stockholm and Oslo Diamond Leagues, and was the world leader at 1:42.08. Miller beat him anyway. So by the time he stepped onto the track in London, Miller wasn't some surprise name. He was a man riding a wave, and he had already beaten one of the best young talents on the planet. The only thing left to prove was that he could do it against a reigning Olympic champion too. What makes Miller's racing style so dangerous isn't just raw speed. Credit for that goes to his training partner, Josh Kerr. Kerr reached out to him in the offseason, before this winning streak even started. Miller has said Kerr sent him a voice memo telling him he had the talent, but needed sharper racing instincts. Kerr studied his old races with him and taught him pacing, positioning, and patience. Miller has openly credited Kerr with teaching him how to actually race, not just how to run fast. That's exactly what you saw in London. A less patient runner panics when an Olympic champion is in the field. Miller didn't. He trusted the plan and let his kick do the talking in the final 100 meters. Now zoom out, because Wanyonyi's season adds even more weight to what just happened. He didn't start 2026 poorly. He opened his campaign by winning the 1500 meters at the Kip Keino Classic in 3:34.11, showing off real range. But once he moved to his main event, the 800 meters, on the Diamond League circuit, the results stopped matching the hype. He finished runner-up in Rabat in 1:43.56. He finished runner-up again in his next 800 meters appearance. London was supposed to be his first Diamond League 800 meters win of the season. Instead, he left without touching the podium. That's the part that should really change how you see this result.